Everybody good on the
All
screen?
right.
Can you guys see the screen? Give me a thumbs up or say something. Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Cool.
Perfect. Hey, can you go to the present so it doesn't have the side thing going on? Did it fix?
Fixed it.
Awesome. You're the man. Okay. So we're going to start off stating a problem, because there's something that as we've committed to a journey of self-improvement, intentionality, we've seen in our lives and in the lives of others, just this lack of defining what success is and what it looks like. And I'll say that even in the areas that we say we prioritize, that are priorities, we just don't take the time to define what those priorities are oftentimes. And as an unfortunate result, many of our lives are going to be filled with just far less meaningful relationships than necessary. Our spouses potentially going to suffer from us not realizing our fullest relational potential, and our children may end up with a daddy-sized hole in their hearts that they never know the true character and essence of their dads. And these are some issues that we've seen, and just the problems that we wanted to confront with this intimacy issue that we're having. And ultimately, we can live a less fulfilling and successful life because we do not and cannot enjoy the benefits of the amazing relationships that God has surrounded us with the people around us. To magnify this problem, especially out here in the West, we live in a time of hurry and extreme material abundance. We're distracted. We're constantly distracted. And we just have so many examples of false intimacy and false success. And this stuff we're getting hit with this every single day. And it really requires a level of intentionality, not only to counter it, but to realize our own truth, right? And oftentimes we've literally forgotten how to just be together in person, not online. And that's one thing we're really going to focus on. This is not about, jumping on as we do this from Zoom. Of course, I recognize the irony of it, but oftentimes we're finding what we believe to be relationships online, and that's just not the truth. And we need to be together, come together in love and intimate relationships. In his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, so I'll say it one more time for those of you, Stu, you can put it in the chat, but The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, awesome book by John Mark Cromer. He says that hurry and love are incompatible. I'll say that again. Hurry and love are incompatible. All of our worst moments are when we're in a hurry, late for an appointment, behind on our unrealistic to-do list, trying to cram too much into our day. We ooze anger, tension, critical nagging, the antithesis of love. So again, let me say that one more time. We use anger, tension, a critical nagging, and the antithesis of love. So in the Storehouse Mastermind, one thing we often discuss is how we lose our religion just trying to get our families out the door to be at church on time. Can anybody relate with that? When that happens, does that feel like love? Does it feel like we're headed to a place to worship, if that's your thing? For Stu and I, our faith is paramount. So we're heading to the house of God to worship on something that is a priority of our life, with people in our lives that are a priority. And we're so angry because we can't get out the door.
That's never happened to me.
And I think that's never happened to you, Stu?
No,
yeah. And it happens. And a lot of us, and I've seen this a lot too. There are many families who just forego even going because it's such a stressful evolution, and it's easier just to stay at home. What does KL say? Running late almost makes it half the moment instead of, and just take a look if you think you're alone, take a look at the chats, because this is not something that is uncommon. So when you look at hurry and love, they're like oil and water. They just do not mix. There's another well-known author, speaker, and pastor, Francis Chan, who says, we are lacking intimacy because we refuse to unplug. Think about that for a second. We refuse to unplug. And what that looks like to you may be different for me, but one thing I think we all share in common is this, right? This cell phone. This cell phone and putting it down and unplugging, because there's so many important things on our computer and our cell phones and these things that we prioritize and we've lifted up. But in reality, that is absolutely detracting from what is most important, truly most important in life. And I think we all can acknowledge that. So who can join me in admitting that these words absolutely resonate? Who else, does anybody else on this call share my problem with unplugging? And I'm looking at some of you folks in the mastermind. And if you're not nodding in agreement, you're all liars, because I know you guys are. I know we have such a huge issue with this unplugging part. But hopefully today, as we talk through this, we can help to rectify this issue. All right, and one last thing I want to really, looking at 5 screws now. That's right, Kale. I lived that life for a long time, and I'll tell you, I don't miss it, not at all. But there's a time and a place as well. And I think if we can figure that out, we can figure out the time and the place, it really can help alleviate some of these issues. So I think potentially one of the worst, most nefarious aspects of this problem is that we don't realize that we can actually do something about it. And we can actually do something about it today. We're not relegated to a life of mediocre relationships. We can have the bonds we desire, and we can have the relationships that we dream about. It's just going to require a little bit of effort, but it is absolutely within our grasp and something that we can achieve. And it's not a bunch of woo-woo stuff. There's hard actions that we can take.
Yeah. So David and I have been on this journey for a while now. We started, I'd say probably 4 or 5 years ago, and we started to really try to build out relationships and really start to build out trust within relationships. This started in real estate. We had this idea in our minds that we would start these real estate businesses. On our way out of the Navy, we were retiring soon, and our hope was that we would build solid foundational relationships through real estate, through our business. But we had some bumps in the road. We found out that a lot of the stuff that we were doing in real estate was very transactional, and it really wasn't building a community and meaningful relationships like we were hoping it would. So we started this mastermind group, the Storehouse Mastermind, and we started to build out these tools to become self-aware, to be intentional about critical areas in our life that we thought that we were missing. And one of those focuses is intimacy. And a part of that step and the part of that process is defining what intimacy is. And what, the tagline of what this webinar was about, a lot of men go directly to physical, right? We all think that intimacy is just about being physical, but how many have actually really defined intimacy? Just raise a hand, or, if someone wants to come off mute and tell me what their definition of intimacy is, I would love an answer from one of you guys. Anybody? Just give me a thought on how you would define intimacy. Don't all jump at once.
I'll buy it. To be honest, I don't even think about it.
You don't think about it, James?
It's like, oh man, what's intimate? Like, I don't even think about it. It's like,
yeah,
like vulnerability is new to me, right? This last year, like it's a new word, like intimacy, like not even a word I've even explored.
Yeah,
at all. Like I've put no energy into exploring it.
Before going through this, intimacy equals sex. That's what it was for me, right? Not gonna lie. James, you said you had something to say?
Yeah. I definitely go negative as well. Intimacy means vulnerability, or like free of shame, just these very anti-male concepts that we don't like to live in. So outside of sex, that's it. Like maybe even sex with the light on. How about that?
That's next level. Next level.
Yeah. That's good, man.
And I don't want to lose Kale's chat. He said, I'm not sure, thought I did till I tried to articulate it. And that is a beautiful point, Kale. I think that's part of the problem, is that many of us say things like success, intimacy, friendship, comfort. I'm comfortable. And the problem is most of us don't, those words are so common, they're so ubiquitous, and they sound so great, and they're so comforting that we never actually take the step to articulate it, to define it, to say what it actually means to us. So then we can then backwards plan and put some action items to it. So I love how you said that, because I think that hits the root of a lot of the discussion, is we just don't articulate it. We just don't really think about it.
And so what you see here is, just a picture, obviously, of our families, and that is one level of intimacy that we have been really intentional about with our spouses, with our kids, but then just with each other, with business partners, with best friends, with office mates, with shipmates. And then, these pictures on the left here are pictures of our mastermind group. A lot of these guys on this call are a part of it. These are our retreats where we come together, we break bread, and we get close. We talk about hard things. And the definition of intimacy, if you look it up, is a close familiarity or friendship, closeness. So that's what our intention is here with the Storehouse Mastermind. As we go on these retreats with men, we live in the same house for 3 days. We break bread. We share bunk beds, if you will, in some cases. And we talk about things that are hard to talk about. We get vulnerable. We get intimate. So we really think we have come up with a solution. We've come up with a step guide-by-guide plan, a step-by-step plan of how we can figure out this challenge of figuring out what intimacy is all about. So one, we have to have a growth mindset. We have to realize that we can all become better in all areas of our lives. And we have to then define what that really looks like. What does success really look like? I'm just, another definition here. Define success. And again, I would say that most men are going to define success in a way that is very materialistic, very heavy on job focus, money focus. But there's a huge gap missing that I think a lot of us have lost. And one of those areas is intimacy. Next, once you've defined those, what really success looks like in intimacy, we have to take action. And we take small daily action steps in that area of our life to then find what that success really looks like. And a bonus step is you do it together. You do it with individuals that are like-minded, that are pushing you to grow, that are, pulling you up when you've fallen, and that are helping you along the way as you go. So again, another question, and I'm gonna throw it out to you guys. What does success mean to you? Go. What does success mean to you in the form of intimacy?
There's a lot of places where it talks about like your internal cup being filled and full. So I guess I sort of think of it in that framework of like my spouse, myself, me and my friends, and our interactions, sort of lifting each other up and feeling content and full with our relationships.
I like it. Dan,
And Stephen, I'm curious for anybody, have you ever, when you think about your friends, did the word intimate, was that something that came into your mind?
No, for me, no. In fact, my definition of intimacy would actually exclude friendships. It would be like my definition of intimacy would expand past physical, but definitely be related to spousal. I would sort of define it as the mental and physical space that's like reserved and associated for just my spouse. But it's an interesting thing to think about, being very close and being willing to share sort of maybe some of the ugly parts of your personality and your history with close friends, and like the idea of that being like intimacy.
Dave, you had your virtual hand raised. I saw.
Yeah,
say something.
I had the virtual hand and the virtual clap at the same time.
That's good.
No, mine certainly includes friendship. My, riches, friendship, were friendships where we could get vulnerable and talk about very difficult, deep things where we were vulnerable. So not too many. I don't have deep friendships like that with a lot of people. But certainly my brother, Dave Gutierrez, are two of those examples where you could really call that deep friendship, where you could take your pride and peel it off and just show your heart and say, like some of the stuff that was manifested here in this group. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to do it, right? So yeah, I would include friendship.
It's good, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and before we move on, one thing, Stephen shared I believe it was a tweet or a Twitterification. I'm not really sure how you define it, but he shared with us, it was somebody talking about success. He was talking about money. And one of the things, and I just leave this for consideration because I find it to be so profound. You know, there's this idea of success, material success, as Stu highlighted, and being a millionaire. The millionaire is like a fancy buzzword. Well, you know, for exception of maybe a couple people on this call, would you guys be happy being a $500,000 a year in air? I mean, I think I would be extremely materially satisfied being a $500,000 a year in air, right? And I think the point of that's half. That's literally half of, and many of us may be content with much less than that, $350,000 in air. But a lot of times we don't think through and define success and recognize, you know what, I'd be pretty ecstatic with those results as well. And the millionaire draw kind of loses its power. And we can define success in all facets of our life and realize, okay, this is a lot more achievable than I thought. We can make true headway towards what success looks like. So what are the negative stakes? What if we choose not to be intentional and not take action in our relationships and decide on just the status quo? What happens then? Well, I can't speak for any of you, but I know from my personal experience that either me or somebody dear to me will live a less than life. And what does that mean? Well, just look around, right? Just look around. We see people all around us every single day who are not living intimate lives. There are so many lies out there, like, you know, your net worth is your self-worth. There's lies like the number of virtual followers is the measure and definition of how successful friendships, how many successful friendships you have. The social media likes define how much you're liked, a lie. As men, we hear things like men aren't vulnerable. You know, we're not vulnerable with each other. Strength means you swallow your pain, your tears, your fears, your rejection. Nobody can see that because I'm a man, a lie. Lone Ranger, a lie. I don't need friends. I have my spouse. Ask your spouse how she feels about that. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody.
I know what your spouse feels like.
You know, you do?
Yeah.
She's like, man, why do you have so many friends, David?
No.
Why do you have so many friends? And why is the quality of your closest friends, well, Stu, why is it lacking so much? Like, that's what she says, that, you know, if we want to bring it up, that's what she says. But I think, you know, I challenge you guys. Does any of this sound familiar? Are you telling yourself these same lies? Because I know for a long time I did. I know Stu told himself the same lies. And I think that they're so crippling in really helping us to achieve the relationships we want to achieve and become the people that we want to become. So I'm going to challenge you to do an easy exercise. The next time you go out to dinner, just take a look around and take note of how many cell phones you see out. Why are we sitting around tables looking at a device instead of being present with those we love? And if we agree to sit at a table and we choose to spend time and money to be with these people, my assumption is that we have some sort of positive emotional connection and we desire something real with those around the table. That's just an assumption for me. I know if I'm going to spend my time, resources, go to a restaurant and hang out with folks, that there's something deeper there that's pushing me to go there. So is it really that difficult to engage? Do we really truly desire deeper relationships? And I believe we do. We just have an intimacy problem. And I think identifying that we have an intimacy problem is the first step. Identifying that we have a problem is the first step, and then we can address it. And we've literally just forgotten how, and more importantly, why we must be present and actually participating in our relationships. So if we choose to do nothing about it and live in the status quo, then I think we should expect nothing more than to have status quo relationships.
So what do we do about it? You know, if we choose to be intentional, if we define and pursue intimacy, we truly can realize some amazing relationships with our spouses, with our kids, with our friends, with our colleagues, with our coworkers, and we can honestly become relational experts in our homes and in our business too. The bar isn't really set that high right now, honestly. We recently had a conversation with one of our podcast guests, and he actually came out to Arizona on our last retreat that we did to speak to our group. And he said that he has found that the number of opportunities that he's had were in direct proportion to his hellos, to the number of hellos that he has said to people. What this means is he was willing to say hello more often in more places than just, online or in Facebook or on LinkedIn. And the door started to open for him in his life and in his business. And he's been honing this skill of intimacy by just saying hello to more people, to building familiarity, to building more friends, to building closeness, which is the definition of intimacy. It's interesting. I was doing research on this, and Stephen had sent David and I this specific study, and I was typing these notes up, and then James Gray, who's also on here, sent this to me in a text message the other morning. And this is a really, really interesting article about a Harvard study that they took 724 participants from all over the world, and they asked detailed questions about their lives in 2-year intervals. They've been doing this for 85 years. And what they found, and this is directly quoted from the study, that contrary to what you might think, it's not career achievements, it's not money, it's not being healthy, it's not exercise, it's not diet. The most consistent finding we've learned over this 85-year study is that positive relationships keep us happier, healthier, and help us live longer. Period. That's it. Positive relationships keep us happy in life, and they help us live longer. It's pretty powerful. So what I'm saying is that once we realize that all the lives we've been living are just that, lives that we can embrace in our true purpose, and realize that a truly rich and fulfilled life, despite the amazing changes that we've seen with the men in the mastermind group, it's just not like David and myself that are looking at this stuff. There's tons of books, there's tons of articles like this, there's tons of studies that show that positive relationships keep us happier, healthier, and help us live longer. Just think about that for a second. Just let that sink in. So how do we make a change?
All
David?
right. So, unmute. Okay. Sorry. So here's the honest truth. We know for a fact that this works, right? As Stu said, this is not just the David and Stu spouting off our opinions on things. This is solidified in data, and we know it works. In addition to that data, we know it works because we've seen men's lives transform in their most meaningful relationships as they focused on things like intimacy. And we've seen it in our own lives. This is something that we're currently living, and I have been blown away by, Stu talked about the 20-second hug earlier. That's something that came out of the mastermind, a challenge that one of the members threw out there. Hey, hug for 20 seconds because more endorphins are released, whatever the science behind it was. So we did it. And I'll tell you, I did it with my wife, and I did it with my daughter and my boys. And it was just so fascinating for me to see their response and their reaction. And it starts with a little bit of a struggle because it's kind of awkward, but you just keep pressing through. You keep holding that hug, and something happens in you and in that person. And it's just absolutely fascinating. So we've seen this stuff almost on a daily basis. And we have over 30 men in the Storehouse Mastermind who are taking actions to grow in their relationships with the Lord, with their wives, with their children, and with their friends. And at this point, because we're pulling this, we're pulling these ideas from these men because they're smart. Quite frankly, they're smarter than we are. So we are also leveraging their expertise to pull the data. And go ahead, Stu. I know you got something smart to say.
I was just going to say it's a very true statement. Very, very much smarter than you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I can acknowledge it. And denial is a big part of this too, right? We deny that we have an intimacy issue, and that's Stu's current issues. He's working through denial and recognizing these things. But we have hundreds of examples at this point of what these men are doing to increase intimacy in their lives. We literally track the commitments they're making, and many even post what you're looking at here in this slide. A lot of them post what they're doing in our shared chat, and they're showing us the actions they're taking to grow intimacy. Now, I mean, just look at these pictures. How long, and I could tell you the one in the top left corner with next to the lettuce picture, I wrote each of my wife and my 3 kids a note. How long do you think that took? Seconds, maybe a complete minute, and I did it while I'm making their lunch. It did not take a lot of effort, but it's it's interesting. Someone wrote "I love you" on the mirror. That does not require a ton of a ton of work. It requires no money. And it's just a level of intentionality that's above and beyond, and it makes a huge mark, right? How would you feel if somebody left a note on your mirror that says "I love you," or next to the coffee pot, "I love you," right? It's just these powerful little things that we're doing, and it's a tiny example of what a lot of these men are doing intentionally. And I'll tell you, here's the amazing thing: the change is evident, and in many cases, it's immediate. And most importantly, it's making other people's lives better. It's enriching other people. So it seems like we're taking these actions. There's a selfish element of intimacy, and there is. We're fed by it, but it is also making those around you better. It's making their lives better and potentially bringing additional joy and a smile. And it's a beautiful thing to witness. And I hope it's obvious at this point that what we're talking about today is not Valentine's Day. That's not what we're talking about. If you use Valentine's Day as the occasion to intentionally express your love, that's awesome. Love it. And I would highly recommend you do it. Just like if January 1st is a great opportunity to reset all your goals for the year and you take action, awesome. That's great. But what we're talking about today is a lifelong commitment, even a habit, to grow all your relationships. It's about seeking intimacy in your marriage, with your children and with your friends. It's about growth and closeness, and ultimately finding deep happiness, health, and purpose, and ideally being able to enjoy these things for a very long time. As the study indicated, that we have longer lives because of our relationships. So I just want to tell you guys, some of you know us, some of you don't, but it has been absolutely amazing to talk with you guys today. And we're so thankful that you gave us your time to show up to another monthly Kinetic Living webinar. For those who don't know, I'm David, this is Stu, and we founded Storehouse 310 because we're on a mission to help men become the hero of their journey, to become the men their wives celebrate, the men their daughters want to marry, and quite frankly, the men their sons want to become. So thank you, guys.
All right, so call to action. Step 1, before you leave today, before you get off of this webinar, before you go on to your next meeting, before you go back to your to-do list, we know it's important to actually put something on the calendar. We know that whatever makes it to your calendar actually gets done. So just take a minute and think about something that you can do today, this week, tomorrow, whatever day it is, that actually shows love to your significant other, your children, your friends, whoever you think that would be impacted in a positive way by you showing them love. Put something on the calendar right now. Anything, like it could be getting them flowers, doing a little sticky note that says, "I love you," put it in all of your children's lunches, whatever that is. Put something on your calendar right now as a reminder to go do that. Next, if you live in Colorado, if you're around Denver, Colorado Springs, Dave and I are, again, being really intentional with this. We are putting things on our calendar every single Thursday, and we created a meetup group. You can go directly to Meetup and search for Kinetic Men of Storehouse 310, or you can go to our website, storehouse310.com, and up at the very top of that, there's a banner that says, come to our next meetup. And we're doing things exciting. We're doing things fun. We're doing things where we can connect. This Thursday we're going snowboarding at Keystone up in the mountains. The following Thursday, we're just going to go have lunch and grab a beer and hang out. We do coffees. As the weather changes, we're going to change sports. We'll probably go mountain biking or hiking or, whatever it is. It's just time on Thursdays for men to get together and hang out. And it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. So if you're in Colorado, come hang with us. Next, we have a podcast. We talk more about this stuff on our podcast. We have some really, really cool guests. Nobody really wants to go and talk to David, but when I reach out and invite people to come, they see that there's at least a 50% chance that they're going to have a good conversation, so they come and join us. So check that out. We have a good time with a lot of really cool guests. Lastly, when we talked about doing these retreats, we're going to do another one. Where our goal is to have one every single quarter. We're going to do one in May, probably early May. It's going to be here in Colorado because Colorado is awesome. So be on the lookout for that. We haven't established the exact location yet, but like I said, it's going to be in Colorado. So be on the lookout for that. Find us on LinkedIn, follow us on the Facebook. We'll be your friend, but we really want to be your friend if you come in person and hang out with us. David, you got anything else funny to say?
No, I was just going to tell Dave Perez to maybe drive out here a month before to avoid he's now
COVID.
tried to come to two, so try to
2.
avoid COVID, try to avoid canceled flights. I think maybe if you plan to get out here a month in advance, you may make the next retreat.
Yeah.
We're tired of refunding you, dude.
Was that?
We're tired of refunding you.
Hey, I'll start driving this weekend.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hey, before we close it out today, we were trying to keep this a little bit shorter than our normal scheduled hour-long call, but any thoughts, any questions before we close it out today? We'd love to, hear any thoughts and opinions on how this impacted you in any way. You have any aha moments?
Dude, Dave, I got a question for you. So a lot of this, like advice, intimacy, friendship, fun, it's easy to visualize, like I'm no good at that. Like, how do I become better? But have you two, because you have a strong relationship already, have you applied some of these things to strengthen like relationships that are already good? So are you seeing growth now, even within your own friendships, or if you already have a strong marriage, making it stronger?
Hey, so, and that's a great question. And this was not set up. James is a mastermind member, and this was not planned for. But James, to answer your question, just this weekend, I called Stu and I said, hey, dude, am I a good, don't answer me right now. I want you to think about this. Am I a good friend? I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm giving you a couple days. And then this morning, yeah, 0. It was actually pretty immediate feedback. And it was like, no, you're not. But all joking aside, yeah, all joking aside, it is very important to me personally, since you asked me, to be extremely intentional in all these relationships. I felt like I had a pretty good relationship with my kids, a very good relationship with my kids. I'm the dad that goes out and, plays with the kids at the park, and they bring their friends and we do these things. But I asked them the same question. And a lot of it comes from asking questions. Hey, am I a good daddy? Is there anything that is there anything that I'm doing that maybe is, is like, my daughter's a little older. I'm like, is there anything I'm doing that is invalidating you? I ask hard questions, and it's not an easy question to say. It's not easy to pick up the phone and say, even with someone that you love, hey, dude, am I a good friend? And I think it's also hard to answer that question, right? But if you do that, Stu may say something to me today, and I'm holding him to today to answer the question, that could be life-changing, not only in our relationship, but can make me aware of a blind spot that I have that I would never know about. And I promise you, and you know this as a fact, James, that will absolutely grow our relationship. And I don't know if that had an impact on him to ask the question or not, but I would appreciate him asking me that question at some point, because I have tons of feedback that I would love to give to Stuart.
And what that does it is, and we didn't talk about it a lot on this webinar, but there's one word, vulnerability, that a lot of us have a hard time performing, right? Because it's scary. And as soon as you open up and like allow for, maybe for some negative feedback to come your way, that actually creates intimacy. You know what I mean? And James, I know you've done this because it's a part of our mastermind, is asking that question to your kids. Hey, am I a good dad? Is there anything that I can do better? And kids, they're not going to hold back, man. Right? Like,
the answers are hilarious.
Yeah, they're hilarious, but also can be very challenging. It can be hard, right? Like my
Dad, you yell
my
too
daughter
much.
said that I yell too much. And like, that hurts. I want to be like a really good dad. And I feel like having that has, impacted me in a positive way to now try to go be a better dad and not yell so much, right? We looked up Ben Kaloy, who's the dad coach, who's certified in scream-free parenting, and we had him come to our retreat. Like, we had some amazing conversations. That was all because I asked that hard question to my daughter, am I a good dad? So yeah, I think you can always better a relationship, even though it's a really good one already.
And dude, vulnerability, like Lyle talked about it. It's hard, and you can face rejection. There's all kinds of things that come with vulnerability, but I'll tell you, man, the first time I picked up the phone to just tell one of my dudes, hey man, I love you, bro. Just letting you know. That was hard. Now, like, I look forward to it. Like, I'm looking at this group of people here and I'm like, oh man, I want to call these. I got to give these guys a call just to tell them I love them, because I do. And I feel that way, but it also has enriched my life significantly, because my friendships, and I will tell you guys straight up, I believe that my relationships are enviable. I believe that my friendships are something that people truly desire, because they're so freaking awesome. And I want them to be even more awesome. And so that drives a lot of this Thursday get-togethers, because you never know when you're going to meet your new best friend. And I'm actively
Hey, that's my line,
looking
dude.
and
That's my
pushing really hard. Yeah, but you've had it for so long, it's worn out. Like, nobody wants to be your best friend.
Hey, remember the first time that you gave
That's
Steven
the blind spot he's going to figure out one day.
Yeah,
Stu.
right.
One
That's
day.
right.
And I'm proud of you for jabbing at him a little bit today, because
Yeah.
that's like the first time you gave him a little jab back. But soon
Don't
he's
let
gonna
him be the
get
victim, Lyle. He comes with just as much garbage. His is garbage.
Hey, David, remember the first time you gave Steven a hug?
Yes.
That was a pretty awesome.
And now he embraces it.
see.
At the last retreat, we surrounded him. We gave him a front hug. I gave him a back hug.
I don't know if he's embraced it
he
fully
endured
yet.
it. He endured it. He didn't fight
endured
it.
it.
He endured it.
I didn't charge you with assault this time. That's step in the right direction.
Yeah, it took a while to clear that, by the way.
Yeah. So if anybody comes in person to a retreat with David around, just be ready for a 20-second bear hug.
I'm a
Just
hugger.
saying, he's gonna get in there.
I'm a hugger.
Good question, James.
Anybody else? Anybody have any? That is a great question, James. Hopefully it was answered sufficiently.
Yeah, I'll offer something real quick. Dave paid me to say this, by the way, disclaimer.
You weren't supposed to say that.
No, seriously, it's contagious when at the end of the day, I don't look at it all day because it's a distraction sometimes, but I kind of schedule it at the end of the day. I look at our chat. And I see all these images. And one of the things I did was write I love you on the mirror in the bathroom and in the shower. It was glass shower, and in the kids' mirrors. I got that from seeing you guys do it, right? And what's funny, I'm not lying. I have a contractor at home. Last week I had a contractor at home, and he was doing a closet in my son's bedroom. And then he said, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" I say, "Yeah, go ahead and use the bathroom. There's something written up there."
Doesn't apply to you,
right? It says, "I love you." But I didn't tell him. I said, "There's something written in the mirror. You could take it or leave it." Right? I wrote it for the kids. And then he says, he hadn't gone to the bathroom. He says, "I think I'll take it." I said, "All right." So he went to the bathroom, and then he just laughed when he came back. and I shit you not, man, that Friday, I went to First Friday downtown. They had like these food trucks, and I see him and his wife, and that was the topic of conversation, and which
That's
led
awesome,
to,
man.
hey,
That's awesome.
this is kind of what we do in the mastermind, right? And so it's the little things like that that are contagious, and you guys didn't even know that it went beyond our little circle.
That's hilarious, man. I love that story.
Yeah,
I love that.
And here's the deal: like we didn't pay DP to say that, and this isn't a plug for Storehouse Mastermind, but what it is a plug for is that bonus step in the call to action. That step 4 is surrounding yourself with a group of like-minded individuals that are going to push you, because that's exactly what happens. Like, you see people doing things, and it just motivates you to do something too, right? And that's like the magic sauce. That's like the bonus step. You can try to do it on your own and you'll be okay at it. But when you surround yourself with others that are doing it, it's just going to motivate you to just.
Well, it's more fun too, right?
It is more fun.
I'm thinking about, I won't share what it said, but see you, James. Love you, brother.
See you, buddy.
I won't
Love
share
you.
what it said, but Lyle posted, we did a different challenge over Thanksgiving, and Lyle posted what he wrote to his wife. And dude, Lyle, I was dying. I was like, that is freaking awesome. Like, I was dying. I wanted to show my family. I didn't, but it was a lot of fun. And it literally, what you wrote, why it would lift me up, I don't know, but I just felt a great sense of joy for that. And it was pretty awesome.
I mean, it started with the whole, you guys, hey, do the 30-day journal as a gift, right? And I ended up doing like 100 or 100 plus days. I wrote different things. So just coming up with anything that was coming out of my mind, thinking about my wife. And I wrote the I love your booty on there. And she pulled that one up the other day. And she just is like, she sends me the picture of it and smiles, right? And it's been one of the greatest gifts, bar none. And I'm just putting random one-liners in there. And I'm getting so much love from it. So thank you guys.
Love that.
Super simple.
No, man, you did it. I love your booty. That was so fun. Dude, I was dying laughing.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware, we did this challenge basically. What was it? When did we start that? Like around October?
Before Christmas.
Yeah, before Christmas.
Yeah, Thanksgiving time frame, a little bit.
We challenged everyone to get a small, little journal or something like that, and every single day, just write one thing that you're grateful for your spouse, and just keep that journal every single day until Christmas, and then give that as a gift to your spouse at Christmas with 60, 90 days, whatever it was, like one page of something you're grateful for. Yeah, it brought my wife to tears, and it brought me to tears. And surprise, but it was awesome.
Sucker.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions before we close out?
I'm going to take this word intimacy and write on it, because that's what helped me with vulnerability. It was a journaling class that I actually wrote on it. And that was the first time I was able to see that my whole false identity I had with vulnerability was nonsense, right? And by the end of the writing, I'm like, dude, this is like power. This is courage. These are all these other things that I was hiding from by not addressing that word. So I'm hoping by sitting down and writing on intimacy, I'll get to that same point. So
I heard something on I think it was a podcast I heard. They said intimacy equals into me see into me. Intimacy equals into me see. It's vulnerability, right? And that's where it starts. You got to open up.
And we look forward to when you come out to Colorado, Lyle. I know it's a tall order, dude. Leave Costa Rica for 3 days, but I'm telling you, 20-second hugs are way better than 20-second virtual hugs.
I've already been to Colorado and hugged both of you guys, so I think it's time for
True
you to
statement.
Costa Rica.
I've
already done my part.
We did. It's not for us. I'm not trying to be selfish. I want it for the other men who are going to be there to experience your hug as well.
I think it's all total easier for all these guys to get to Costa Rica.
Yeah, this is true.
Probably right.
That's good. Hey, Don, thanks for joining us, Don. I put it's called Filling the Storehouse. I put it in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw it. So thanks for asking.
I saw it. I just subscribed. Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you.
Success. That was
Good-
the
good
definition
seeing
of
you, man.
success today. It was getting one subscriber on our podcast. Yes.
Yes. That was the whole point. Like that's
Whole
the
point.
only reason we did this. We put some work in to get one, just one
Thanks, Don,
dedicated.
for meeting our mission.
You know, what's strange is that it takes a Kinetic Men webinar to actually see the image of my brother. Like we text each other every day, or we, Facebook message, but I don't see his face unless I go through Kinetic Men
Hey, man,
webinar.
that's what we do.
Hey man,
Well,
Bring the
it's an
families
upcharge
together
actually.
around the world.
That's an upcharge, Dave. So you'll get a bill. You'll get a bill. It's part of the mastermind upcharge. You're welcome. It was good seeing you, Jimmy.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you for having me.
thanks everyone for joining us today. Hope I know you guys got something out of it. So take action. Go put something on your calendar to show love to your family members. Cool.
Yep.
Happy Valentine's Day.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
See you.